Welcome to IC3, where we talk about comics, art, and the indie scene. I'm your host, Matthew Sardo. Joining me today is cartoonist Jamie Jones. We're going to wander around a few CAF galleries and try to discover some indie art. And then we go Deadly Class. Oh, very exciting. The acclaimed series by Wes Craig and Rick Remender. Jamie and I are going to talk about our 5 favorite pages from the series. Always a good time talking with Jamie. Our conversation might not always be linear, but we get to the point, and it's always about the journey. Dr. Jones, how you doing, my friend?
Good, I'm good. I'm always good. I'm always good when I get to talk to you, Matt. My friend, Matt Sardo.
Ian Cinco is going to be so glad that you were so close to this camera.
Yeah, I'll get a little closer for Ian. Yeah,
Right,
Ian,
so
I've changed my setup so I can get a little closer.
You have a beautiful setup. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I am so jealous of that setup right there. All the wood, the artwork, the books, the inspiration, the colors.
This is my childhood bedroom. So I am here. I am in my childhood bedroom talking to you about comic books as an adult.
Do you have any new artwork that you can show me?
I mean, I'm working on SPAKOW 4 currently. So yeah, this behind me, this is the cover, the original art for the cover. The Ballad of Bare Knuckle John is the cover story. Had to draw them up, had to paint them. I paint all my covers using gouache. There's a Tales of MFR is back there.
There you go.
Cover. Let's see. What else do I have? I have this this James Bond that I did for for a friend of mine's wedding that I was supposed to give him to. They've been married for 4 years now. Or 3 years. They've been married for 3 years. So I have those things. I also have, interior pages for SPAKOW 4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. There's one of the things I like about SPAKOW and the things that I'm able to do with it is kind of just follow my fancies and follow my whims. And I wrote a 4-page story about a caveman in ice, and he's a sideshow character. He's being brought around for a sideshow, and then he escapes from the ice. Dun, dun, dun. And it's like a quick little 4-page story. Just because I had 4 extra pages in the book, and I was like, oh, gotta put it up. I've also been reading a bunch of Mark Twain stuff, and his short stories are so short that I wanted to play around with that, and just kind of I'm in that mindset of doing short form stuff. And then, the interiors of Bare Knuckle John, it's going to be hand lettered. It's all on the board. This is
wow, that looks really good.
Yeah, that's 1-to-1 of what the book's going to look like, and I'm drawing it a little bigger, just to kind of get into that old school mindset. So that's where I'm at. I'm just going crazy trying to get this book ready for the end of June.
My in-laws were in town this past weekend, and they're obnoxious. And we went to this rose garden in West Hartford, and it started to rain, and I was so frazzled by my in-laws and what they wanted to do and where they were pushing me that, like, we just got back in the car and we drove home. We drove an hour. It was raining. We drove back home. I was 10 minutes away from Mark Twain's house.
Yeah, because it's over there.
Yeah, and I got home and I was just kicking myself so hard that I got frazzled and I didn't go to the Mark Twain house. Thought about you.
It's so I'm obsessed with Mark Twain, and it's kind of a recent obsession. I realized I turned 34 and I had never read any Mark Twain, and I'm an English major. I have like all of these things. It was just, for whatever reason, just missed. I've seen every adaptation of things. I'm familiar with the stories, just had never read any of it, and I just went whole hog. And my goal for 2025 has been to read all of Mark Twain or at least read all of his novels, and then as many short stories as I can possibly read. And I did not realize this is everyone knows this. I did not realize. Maybe you don't know this either. Mark Twain was a travel writer in his beginning of his career. So like Life on the Mississippi is about him. He's like Anthony Bourdain for the 1800s, and I'm obsessed with him. I've been the new Mark Twain biography came out. The guy who wrote the Hamilton biography and the Grant biography just wrote a Mark Twain biography. My buddy got that for me. So I'm very excited to sit down and read that. But yeah, my sketchbook, I'm just drawing Mark Twain all the time. My goal is to adapt Mark Twain short stories. It's like so in the next SPAKOW, there will be like Mark Twain short stories in it.
Yeah, I was like, that's not a goal. That's going to be a reality. I mean, those are things that you can actually do. So I mean,
yeah,
it's not a goal. Like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And whether you like it or not, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
One of the things I like to do now that I'm like in CAF, like really in Comic Art Fans, and I have the app and I'm downloading it, is I just start searching for all the indie comic creator con creators that have presented at the convention the past 2 years, and I want to see who has what and who's collecting what, and see if I can find some, if I can unearth some gems in the CAF database, which is massive, by the way. Like, if you want to go and just explore, like, just type in Jack Kirby and see what comes up, and you'll get Kirby Crackle for the next like 4 days, and it's a lot of fun to just research art and comic art and artists and styles and stuff like that. So
Jack Cole, Will Eisner, and Milton Caniff are on my constant searches. It's great.
So for me, that the first person, one of the first people, probably, is he top 5? He's got to be top 5. One of the top 5 people, like, I'm going to Google in an art thing like this, is Mahdi Khene, our buddy.
Sure.
And I came across this commission, I think it's from like 2023. And I was like, oh, cool. This hits everything that I wanted to hit. It has his Batman, has a Spider-Man, has his indie character, has Wolverine, which he has like a bootleg now of Wolverine. And I'm like, oh, this is a perfect example of what I'm looking for.
This piece is fascinating to me because I would never think to do something like this. It's like a comic page and it's cropped in a weird way. The cropping of Spider-Man's head in that first panel is wild. The fact that he cropped Steel Streets so much is wild. It looks like he got a commission for Batman and Spider-Man and then and then went crazy on it. I wish my brain worked this way. I wish I was like, I'm so stuck in my ways and so stuck in my world that my brain doesn't work this way. And I always question why their brains work this way. Because they make the coolest commissions. Like, this is cool. I want this.
I'm trying to figure out how you would be on with Mahdi's brain, and that just my brain just explode. It just literally like blew up.
It would not be good.
But Mahdi Khene is a New York City-based cartoonist and publisher. In 2021, he co-founded an indie publishing company called Superhero Comics. And this is a cool thing, along with having been a score composer for short films. If you like search the internet for Mahdi Khene, he's produced a few albums, and his folk albums are like really cool. And it's almost like the other side of the coin with you, because you're an actor and a cartoonist. He's a musician and a cartoonist. And if we're going down there, and his titles are Steel Streets and Bootleg Spider-Man. And I think he just came out with a bootleg Wolverine. And I think he's also coming out. He mentioned he's coming out with an Italian comic book.
Yeah, I think he's still working on it. Or maybe he's not. Maybe it's done. I have no idea. That was he's constantly putting stuff out. And superherocomics.com is where you can find everything. That's superhero with a Z.
Yes.
And all of his stuff. He just recently launched a wholesale portal on that too. So if you're a retailer, gets you some Mahdi Khene books.
And I think you're going to be at Heroes Con. I'll be at Heroes Con. I think Mahdi will be at Heroes Con.
Mahdi will be at Heroes Con. Yeah, Heroes Con is going to be great. I'm really excited for Heroes.
I will double check.
I say this.
Oh.
It's my favorite show.
It's your favorite show that you don't work at.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I should have double checked, but I think Vero is going to be at Heroes Con.
Oh, nice.
And I found this page from Bartosaurus Rex, and this is page 13, and she made a bootleg Big Barda comic book, and it's glorious. And I like dinosaurs. Who doesn't like dinosaurs?
Yeah, this is fun. This is really fun.
Apparently, Jamie doesn't like dinosaurs.
I love dinosaurs. What are you talking about? This is really fun. That dinosaur at the bottom, the punch is really funny. And the weight of it's really good. Like, he looks off balance. It looks like I've been drawing a lot of punching. I've been drawing a lot of boxing. So I am now like thinking about that all the time, is like how the weight and the way the legs shift underneath the person that's just been knocked out is really great.
Yeah, and then
that rendering on that middle panel.
And then,
it looks great in color.
Yeah, I think it's Tyler Turner who bought that page. He has it in his calf gallery.
Yeah,
he has the original, and then he has the page from the book, and I like it. I mean, I like that Big Barda's got the tear as she knocks out the dinosaur. That's a little compassion there, but I think Vero she's going to be on to some really good things coming up. I think she is one of those like rising stars. Vero is a Cuban American illustrator, painter, cartoonist in New Hampshire. Her comic book Big Bartosaurus Rex is out now. It follows Big Barda in the Justice League International on a planet of dinosaurs. She's also done variant covers for IDW, RG, and Evil Inc. She's the writer and illustrator behind Field Guide to Wonder and Cabinet of Curiosities, a couple zines that she has. But she's a great personality. I think along with Mahdi and Vero, like that's a personality room right there. With just excitement for the industry, excitement for making comics.
They're people who are excited about making comics. And I think that's, oftentimes you get to people who are like me, who get jaded and they're just sitting there curmudgeon and and have a lot of thoughts. And these guys have a lot of thoughts, but they're so excited and passionate about stuff. And it's really infectious. I think every time I've gotten off the phone with Mahdi, it's like, okay, now I got to sit down and make more comics. He's infectious. And Vero's very similar. I've had a couple conversations with her in the past, and it's been really great. That whole crew, the crew that Vero rolls with, is really fun.
Yeah, they are a lot of fun. If you were at the second IC3, they were at the hotel bar, just hanging out and drawing and doodling and just talking comic books, which is great. This last person that I'm going to talk about today, Mario Cow, he has a special heart in my place because a
heart in your place.
Heart in my place, special place in my heart. Same order, doesn't matter. Heart in my place in my heart. Because he was the last person to get a table at the first IC3. He showed up the day of, and there was a space, and I was able to get him a space. And
nice.
His art is phenomenal. He's done some indie books. He doesn't do a lot of commissions, but I went on his I went to his calf account, his calf gallery, and I started looking around, and he's got a couple Spider-Mans that I was going to show and a couple Daredevils. But this page right here, this piece of artwork, it feels like I'm going to show it to you. I'm just going to show it to you. It feels like Death could just float into the clouds. Like the clouds are her and she's the clouds, and the way the pen strokes go, it's just so light, and I feel like it just could blow off the panel.
Yeah, it's great. The weight, the form is really good on these. Yeah, I like this a lot. What was it made? 2023? Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. 2023. You're that good. It's 2025. You're going to be that much better. Yeah, this piece is great. It's so the weight of the hand on the face is really nice. Yeah, this is great. It's a great piece.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things where just she captures the look, even at the toes, the little toes wiggle, kind of. It's almost romantic. When I say romantic, it's romantic.
You can say romantic.
It's got a rose. She's got a good look out there. But Mario is a Brazilian graphic novelist, illustrator, and a teacher. and he's bringing an introspective and poetic look at emotions and relationships. This is his bio. And that's what he gives me from his artwork. And invites the reader to reflect upon the little pieces of life's puzzle. I think we're reflecting.
I think Mario is a reflective man. And
yeah, his work is really good, and you should definitely check it out. And again, if you can get a commission from him, because I've talked to him a few times, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't do commissions. I'm really busy with everything else. I'm working on my books. I'm doing these things, and I don't have time to commission." So, if you see him at a convention and you can get him to doodle a little bit, definitely take your chance.
Yeah,
because I don't think he does that very much. And I don't mean doodling in a negative way. This is an amazing doodle.
I didn't take doodling in a negative way. I don't know. I didn't take it negatively.
Is there when you're taking commission or somebody says, is there negative words that would be like, oh man, I can't believe you just said that about me doing artwork?
Oh, I don't know. I ask a younger Jamie Jones. He might have had a problem with stuff. I don't care anymore. Just if you're interested, I think the main thing for me now is like, are you interested? Do you know what I do? Do you have any kind of idea? There's a group of guys that always commission me at Heroes Con, and they have started just giving me wild stuff, and it's getting more and more specific. Last year, I got commissioned to draw one of the ghosts, Hatbox Ghosts from the Disney ride Haunted Mansion.
Oh,
and
wow.
that was really fun. So it's like that kind of stuff that people are starting to think about. I like old pulp things. I like comic strips. I like that kind of stuff. So it's like you're gonna get a better commission if you ask me to draw the spirit, right? Like that's just what's gonna be the thing.
Well, that's definitely the
you
one
get a good
thing
commission
I
if you draw the
recommend.
whole thing.
That's the one thing I do recommend is people kind of try to find out what the artist likes before they ask a commission.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily. I always kind of preface this. It's like it's not always necessarily what I like to draw, because I will draw whatever. It's just like, what's the vibe? If I get a Captain America and somebody goes, yeah, but I want 1940s Captain America, they understand. Like I know I'm going to give them a good piece, right? Because they know what they're getting from me, kind of look wise, and that's really great. That's the vibe I try to put out, is like knowing what I draw like.
Okay, so please describe to me what your 1940s Captain America would look like.
Well,
Just the head. Just tell me the head. Just tell me where.
Well, he's got. I mean, look at like the old Jack Kirby, like that. It's that costume, right? It's all felt. It's all fabric around the.
Okay,
mask.
so it's not like the bomber goggles with the helmet in the A.
No.
It's just the mask.
Yeah, when I mean 1940s, I don't mean like stylistically 1940s. I mean what he looked like in the 1940s.
Right.
When he's punching Hitler, the shield is an actual shield. It's not the circle shield. That kind of stuff. That's a super fun commission that I've done in the past. That might be up on CAF. Those guys post stuff.
And you, if you go to your Instagram, people can see your Heroes Con auction piece, right? Like the making of.
Yeah, every year.
No, we're talking about this year. We're talking about this year.
Yeah. This year it's this year I'm doing Johnny Quest and Bandit. But yeah, this year. Last year I did Kermit. The year before that I did Alfred E. Newman. The year before that I did Popeye and Olive Oyl. I've been doing these bigger painted pieces for those shows. I think they're like 16 by 20. They're really fun to do.
And your Popeye and Olive Oyl is in Scotty Young's living room, or do you?
I think it's in a studio. Yeah, Scotty Young bought that piece, and it was crazy. He bought the Alfred E. Newman the next year, so I was 2 for 2 on it. I told him I was joking around with him after the second one happened, and I was like, well, next year I'm just going to draw Calvin and Hobbes, and then the next year I'm just drawing your kids, and that was that was the joke. Luckily, I skirted that. But
oh man, are you ready to talk about Deadly Class?
Yes, let's talk about Deadly Class.
I know how I would describe Deadly Class to a new reader. because owning a comic book shop and selling books, like I have my pitch in my head. But
Sure.
what is your Deadly Class pitch? First 5 issues.
I don't know. It's a guy who's also like, I was working at a comic shop when that book came out and sold Deadly Class to a lot of people. I don't remember how I pitched it. It was, it's teenage assassin school, irreverent teenage assassin school, John Hughes 80s movie. If John Hughes merged with John Woo, you get Deadly Class.
Oh, that is good. That is good, because mine was going to be John Hughes on acid.
Okay.
It's very simple. This is a John Hughes film on acid, like just a little crazy, a little tingy, and kind of like has tangents that will just take you for a ride. So, like, but still has the John Hughes.
Yeah, I think also one of the main reasons, one ways, and one of the main reasons I was attracted to the book when it first came out was just how graphically striking it is. I mean, the tandem between, in those first 14 issues, it's Wes Craig and Lee Louridge, and the tandem of those guys working on a book is gorgeous. It's this really stark colors, desaturation, just like we'll see it in a couple of minutes, but it's like super striking. Yeah, really readable. I really like the book.
Yeah, it's written by Rick Remender. Russ Wooten's done letters. You mentioned Lee. You mentioned Wes Craig as the artist.
Yeah.
And I met Wes. I've interviewed Wes a few times because he has Kaya out right now, and Kaya is a great
Mm-hmm.
book. But then I met him for the first time at New York Comic Con this past year, and just a great Canadian. There's so many great Canadians, but like he's another one who stacks on the list of like Michael J. Fox, Wes Craig. That's where we are in great Canadians.
Martin Short.
But no, he's a real. It's so. But I like when I meet an artist and they're like just mellow cool, because then I'm like, I just root for them more.
True.
It's one of those things where if I meet a rock band or made a band or an artist or whatever, whoever it is, I if they're cool people, I just want to root for them and I want them I want to see them succeed. And I was really cool when like I saw that Wes got some like DC work and stuff, and now like Kaya's a really good book, but like
It's going on so many issues. I feel like I blinked and that book tripled its its numbers in like what, I don't even know what issue they're on now. I think I read the first volume of it. It's great. I really
it's
liked it.
over 25 right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Which is crazy. Like it's incredible. That's a feat.
And that's another thing. He's a hard worker. He's producing. That's what you got to do in this. You got to produce comics.
Oh yeah.
But
I
okay.
like his Instagram's really fun because you get to see a lot of his process work on it. He'll post his like drawings on the scripts, so you can kind of see how he is thinking about page layout and that kind of stuff, which is cool.
This is the first page that kind of like stands out to me. That has a very iconic look to it. And like when I'm reading through the book, I read the first 5 issues. We both read the first 5 issues, and we were kind of go through our memory of like what pages really stand out to you. And like,
yeah, this book came out so long ago now that it's weird and it's hard to think of like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm rereading Deadly Class, which is something that I've been wanting to do. So thanks for making me reread Deadly Class.
Yeah, so Deadly Class came out in 2014, and I put it on like one of those iconic like trades where like you can get the whole series now. They have Image has a compendium. You could just go out and get this book. And it was a TV series for a little bit. It got cut, but like the book itself has a certain amount of indie iconic class. What is that word I'm looking for? It's icon and then something else.
I don't know what you're thinking
of. Whatever's under Mount Rushmore, because I don't think there's 4 on Mount Rushmore for indie comic books. I don't know what those would be, but then like that next level of indie books, I would put Deadly Class in.
It's definitely it feels of a time of an Image book. There was a 2014, 2014, that era of Image was really cool, and they were doing some really cool things and pushing in this more television world. Like it felt like a lot of things that they were producing at that time felt like it could have gone for TV, or felt like it could have been adapted, uh, which is cool. When does Headlopper come out? It's later, but it's like that era of I can remember the paper quality. If that like
Ooh.
everything of that time, Five Ghosts is coming out at that time. Deadly Class is coming out at that time, and the paper's really cool. The paper quality of those books was really nice, which doesn't matter now because we're looking at it digitally, and we're looking at the art, and we're looking at the way Wes Craig draws a woman's eye.
I know
That's
there were so many tangents I wanted to go on about basically the past 10 years of indie comic books, and how
yeah,
like there was probably a span of 5 solid years where everybody was just trying to get their comic book options.
yeah, yeah.
You know, like 1 or 2 people got picked up by Netflix, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is gold mine. Everybody's going after comic books. We're going to make it happen." But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about Wes Craig and Lee and Russ and Rick, and how they have a singular voice in Deadly Class, because it does feel like everybody knows what they're doing.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. Deadly Class feels like one of those rare instances where everyone's working in such synchronicity that it feels like one person made this book and not like 4 people made the book. Even down to the lettering, which is, we were talking earlier, 2014 is weird time for lettering, especially digital lettering. It works so well. I love the use of the blunted tails. I love kind of how small the balloons are, and how the long tails, the kind of are just kind of design elements, and they really feel like they are Wes's hand, which is nice, which is cool. It's like that's perfect lettering, in my opinion. I tried to letter like this for a really long time after seeing Deadly Class. I tried to color like this after seeing Deadly Class. I tried to put lay out pages like this after seeing Deadly Class. This book is ingrained in me from an artistic standpoint, and I dropped all of it. I dropped all of my influences, and now I'm like remembering that I had so much of it. But yeah,
Well, the thing for me as a not, as a reader, is I just feel like there's so much movement on this page. From the
talk
jumping
to
the
me about the
stairs to how
DeLuca
it's
effect,
going.
Matt.
What?
Talk to me how you feel about. Do you like a DeLuca effect?
You're gonna use words, and you're gonna make me feel small again, and I'm
This
gonna be
is
like, "Can you just
Listen.
explain it to me?"
We're talking comics. The DeLuca effect is when you have a character drawn in sequence, and he's coming through. So that top couple of panels is called the DeLuca effect. When like all of Daredevil, when he's jumping around and you can still see him, it's called the DeLuca effect. DeLuca is a Italian cartoonist. His last name was DeLuca, and his name got attached to it because he did an adaptation of Hamlet, and he used it constantly. So they call it the DeLuca effect. There you go. There's your bit of comics trivia, historical trivia for you.
But I just like the way he's jumping through this panel, the 4 panels up top, and then like the landing, and then the way my brain, the eyes from him land up to the girl, and then the fact that there isn't a 4th panel. There is, but there isn't, and then she's in this main panel laying out there. Like, there's some cool design elements to this.
What I find fascinating about this book constantly is, sure, we're using the red of her lips, and we're using it's the same red too, right? Like that red is used 3 times on this page. And then we desaturate it for his armband. So we have her red lips go to the next panel, and it's just a red panel, and she's over top of it. That's just red is classically in classical art how you referenced who the main character of a portrait would be, and where to guide the eye. That's why the lips are red, and often like If you have multiple characters, you'll have a character with a red scarf. It's to indicate where your eye is going to go, because red is the most it guides your eye. It's like it is an indication. And so what they've done
I've
here,
seen the Matrix. I've seen the
yeah,
Matrix.
yeah,
There's
that
a
red
hot girl,
dress,
red scarf, walking
yeah,
through the
yeah.
fingers.
Uh, uh, she's also in the Clone Wars. Just found that out. Anyway, the red leads the eye to the thing. And especially in a page that is primarily purples and blues, having the pop of red. What I find fascinating, this is the thing about this book that they do constantly, is that sliver of purple next to the red. It's like this triangle doesn't have to be there. They could have just made it red the entire time, but it messes with the rhythm of these square panels or rectangular panels, down, 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 down. I find that to be such a great technique or trick. It's just like, we're going to still have the squares, and we're just going to make it purple. It's going to be the same purple as the background. It's going to fold up. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
These are the things that I geek out about. is
no,
that
that's really
sliver
cool,
of
because
purple.
I wonder if there is, like, again, I wonder if there's a full size image of the bottom panel and that corner is purple.
I think
fill into that frame.
I think the way that this book worked, or the way that it was done, is just because I've seen a lot of Wes Craig like process work, is it's done. He draws things like in marker first, and then takes away the marker, and then draws the black on top of it. And so I think it was made to have like a block of color around her. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. There's a lot of things in this. The more you look at the page, the more you're like, oh, okay. There's stuff going on.
Yeah, no, but it also has this like graphic design postery quality of it. And then if I go to the next page, I think it's the next page where the actual
Where the
action takes off. And then it becomes like this muted red. And again, we're going to talk about this a lot. The colors and the spectrum of colors that they go through is just bonkers amazing.
I think it's such a limited palette, and I think what it's so great about this book, and the melding of the kind of stark black and white work that Wes Craig is presenting, mixed with Lee Louridge's colors, is he's working with such a limited palette. He's working with a couple of reds, a couple of blues, and then adjusting the saturation on them. I know Lee Louridge worked had his own company, and was one of the first people in comics digitally to make a color palette that worked entirely in CMYK on Photoshop. That was like one of his big things. This is back in the day. So it's like having a guy who has been working with the same colors for years coming onto this book, having a set palette and really knowing how to use it and what it's going to look like on the page. And, everything it's variations of saturation. It's, her face is completely white and the lips are completely red. The lips are always the reddest part, right? And the red is, her lips are the same color as the panel below her, or it's the same color of the buildings. It's the reddest red is her lips, or the bike, right? And then we use brown reds for everything else, and then white. So it's still sticking out. Like the things that need to pop, our eye is still able to follow, and we're not lost in the sauce. And then you have the emphasis, the further emphasis of the black and white work, where you have the cops in full black and white, and they frame the motorcycle driving past. You have lights around the cop car that's going to constantly frame where the cop car is. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to do. I love in that top panel now, the Indie Comics Creator Con logo is up there, and we can't see it fully, but we can
That
get
won't
the
be there.
idea.
That won't be there in post production because there's going to be 2 separate recordings and
Oh,
pictures
great.
being overlaid. So no
Cool.
behind
Okay.
the scenes talk.
So behind the scenes, I can see something that you can't. But what's cool is there's this. It's like full black, right? And the curve of the street and the motorcycle turning. It's a cool mix of use of negative space and use of shadowing, and it leads the eye. And that red, that bright red color, is the trail of the is an action line, right? And it's cool. I really love the bottom panel where the cop car and the final figure, the final image of the motorcycle, are the same panel, but then there's this cropped panel, that, I guess, third to last panel of the motorcycle going up the building. It's a use of, I'm going to say, DeLuca effect again. There's a use of the DeLuca effect that if this was in sequence and we did see it and it wasn't broken up by panels, we would have this kind of this sequence. But and the cropping of it, we know what's happening. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we see it fully. It's still indicating what's going on, how fast they're moving. It's great. Where they are in placement of, it's like when you're playing a video game, you have a ghost driver, you see where people are, you see what people are doing. Yeah, I mean, that's Wes Craig's ability to crop a frame to crop a panel is fascinating to me.
And that's
I
where
love it.
like your brain starts to fill in the gaps, and that's where I start to have like sounds and movement and like all this
Yeah,
stuff have to start
you
happening.
don't need that panel,
Right.
right? That panel doesn't add anything other than movement. It's adding things, artistically, it's adding things, but it doesn't add anything to the story or to the structure of it. But we have all of this other stuff in threes, right? Like, there's everything is kind of in these 3 beats, so it's nice to see. It's nice to see that repeated once again.
And then for like the coloring, like going from the previous page to this page, previous page was purple and the introduction of red, and then you go to this all red thing, all red page. Um, in my head, it sequences like a cut scene and then moving on to the action scene, and like this is where like the soundtrack would start kicking in, and like everything would be like, oh, here's the action moment, it starts now, because like the color changed and shifted, and then like because when they get done it shifts to a different color and stuff, and that's the end of the scene.
They do that a lot in this book, and that was one of the things, again, we were talking about earlier. I was like, this book feels like it was made to be a pitch, right? Like, it does certain techniques that we're so used to seeing in film that it's not jarring, especially if things happen on page turn. We're used to things on an entirely different setting, but to go from something that's static, introduction of character, like we get a new character, turn the page, boom, we're now in it, and it's complete action sequence. Um, it's a good pacing. It doesn't mess with the rhythm of the storytelling. It adds to it, but they're using techniques that are so prominently, those are film techniques. This feels like a movie, and I hate cinematic storytelling as an idea in comics, because I think it's uh, like used incorrectly. But for every rule, like, it's a rule because it gets broken, and this book breaks that rule so many times, and it's so in such strong ways.
Well, I'm going to show you a page that's going to be tough do on film. And I think, everybody involved, the creative team in this does it well in this page right here. Would you agree
Yeah.
or disagree that with this is something that comics can tell better than film?
I don't know. I think the repetition of faces and panels is really nice. I think this is a great. I really like this double page spread, but I think where I really get jazzed on the storytelling is on that long bottom panel where it has the three faces of the boy drawn, and then the three faces of the woman copy and pasted. Right? It's like, what's the thing? The juvenilia of how he draws the younger version of Marco. Gosh, I really should have remembered that. The younger version of him is just like this juvenile drawing. Everyone else is drawn in this in the same style, right? It might be a little looser, or it might be a little less tight, a little less rendered, but he's drawn, and they highlight it more with the white over the faces in a really, it's juvenilia, right? Like that's the drawing style is, it's just so rough and quick. And then we get that final panel, that final three, that kind of triptych of faces that he has, and that being drawn three times because it's so quick, right? It's just it's emotion. You're drawing about as fast as you can intake that image, and then the repetition of the image that is burnt in his mind, right, being perfect and copy and pasted. I think that's fascinating. I think that's such a good use of the copy and paste in comics. And such a good difference.
Now, like the previous panel, sorry for cutting you off, but like the previous page, I'll bring that up real quick. We talked about this. I was like, oh, this reminds me of that Duran Duran album cover because I'm in that 80s mode now.
Yeah.
And so then we go back to this page, and I was like, oh, there's it with the red balloon. And I'm like, if my brain is going through all these 80s moments, or the, like, it's like, oh man, like I'm going to have to talk to Remender. I'm going to have to talk to, Wes, and be like, hey, is my brain going full 80s, or is these moments that you're trying to like show like little Easter eggs?
I think one of the things, what does a balloon represent in this, or what is the balloon service in this moment, is the balloon goes up while the woman falls down. And I think it is used to lead the eye and Marco's eye, right? The point of view character. It's used to make Marco look up, because why else would he look up if the balloon didn't fly away? So yeah, there might be an it thing, but I don't know.
It could be that I'm jumping to conclusions now that I'm in this wormhole of 80s. I
think you might be in a wormhole of 80s, but you might be in a wormhole of 80s that they also are in. So who am I? Who am I to? This is why I hate. I went to English school. This is why I hate literature classes, and why I don't like talking about this stuff. It's because, like, we have a symbol. The symbol is the balloon. What does a balloon represent? And then it's like, well, the color of the balloon means this, and then this means this, and it's like, now we are interacting with the art that we did not make. So it's interesting to, like, so I can look at the balloon, I can see what it represents, and I can also see why it was used to bring the eye up. And balloons are innocence, balloons pop, balloons, there's a bunch of symbolic reasons that we can use things for. Is a balloon popping the same as a woman popping on top of like the blood spurt coming off of it? Is it, what are the things that these represent? Yeah, symbols are cool. Comics are great because we deal in symbols almost exclusively.
Right. And so I can even take the it thing a little bit further, because like Marcus is laying on the ground, and below the ground is the sewer system. And that's where this is taking place. And then that's where it lives, down in the sewers.
Okay.
But this is just a really, again, you have you have the different art styles, the use of color, this like the nightmarish dark black bar. Like I only can see, again, I don't want to be like film, but I only see like Tim Burton doing that, where it's like here's the visual and then it pans down
Oh yeah, like
into
that's a
the
huge David Lynch trope. That's a huge,
yeah.
that's Blue Velvet. That's the first scene in Blue Velvet. Like it happens like that all the time. Yeah, it's a very that is they're using so many film techniques in this book, and they're doing it statically. Um, it's a real testament because clearly this is a movie, and we're gonna make it a comic book, and they're playing with those things really well. Um,
Now I'm gonna have to go watch the first season of Deadly Class, the canceled show, and see if they tried to do any of this stuff.
yeah,
But but again, this panel works on so many levels, and I also like the fact that you can just there's so many little areas that you can look at this forever, and it's a piece of artwork, and you can just like pick apart what things mean and how it goes, and then the the final panel where he's like his family, where he's covered in red partially, more of the splash, like
yeah,
he's the way he's drawn compared to it's the kind. I don't want to use the word the whole time. I'm biting my lip to not say the word flow.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
as your eye goes from across the page, like it's just totally broken by that last panel, the style and artwork and everything.
Yeah, we're set up to go with it though. I think that's what's so interesting. And then like those final three panels of the face is literally it's like dots, right? It's just dot eyes, and uh, there's no rendering, right? It's uh, so loose, and I love it. I think it's great.
And so let's go to a happier spot. Let's go to a Grateful Dead concert, and let's go find some drugs.
Yeah,
This is a really cool pan. Again, just think about the colors that we just went from to where we are now, and like the jumps and how things go. Um, I think I really the Las Vegas the Las Vegas issue of this book is really good, and I think this isn't even the best page in that book because Wes kind of just goes off because one of the characters goes on an acid trip, and he goes full on crazy with it, and it's a lot of fun. But I do like the conversation that we have with this because it's how we look at panels, how we read the page, and like how our eye flows through. And you have some opinions on this.
I have a lot of opinions on this page. So this is the double page spread. If you can't tell, there's a white line in between it. That means there's two panels or two pages. Um, I don't particularly like these type of stunt pages where it's just like it's a big scene. There's a bunch of people. It feels like a Where's Waldo, right? It's the isometric way. My main problem with this page is that the uh, panels, the way your eye leads from panel to panel, so much of that work is done with the lettering, and it has to be there, right? Look at the I mean the length of the tails on that on that first balloon to that last balloon is they're wild, and they're there so your eye doesn't go to the wrong place, right? Uh, that last one I think is kind of egregious. It's ridiculous, but it's there because your eye will want to go. We live in America. We read left to left to right. These books are formatted left to right. The idea that we don't go to those next panels on the next page, and the way that we are signaled uh, is by the word balloon, drives me bonkers. Now, Wes has attempted to fix this, right? We get to see the smoke is leading us from panel to panel, but in the case of panel 2 to 3, the smoke is covered up by the lettering. Same with panel 3 to 4. There's smoke that is guiding us through, but the problem here is that the smoke color is the same color as the background, so it doesn't actually achieve the effect that the artist, the letter or the penciler inker wants to achieve. It doesn't lead the eye. So now the lettering comes in and really does a fantastic job getting this thing to go from one panel to the next panel. Yeah, I just think it's, for a book that is done so well, works so well when it is just square panels in sequence. The fact that they do this is wild to me, and it drives me nuts. And it's kind of just gimmicky. It's kind of just a stunt, right? I think it would have worked just as well if you had this panel, or if you had this double page spread with the first half of it is the double page spread, and then the talking bits are just at the bottom, right? Run across the bottom. I think that would have worked better. But who am I? Just a guy.
The thing with this, when you brought up the smoke, I was like, oh man, I didn't realize that the smoke connected all the panels. And if you go and look at the page, the smoke connects all the panels on both pages and guides your eye the correct way. This will be a fun page to look at in the raw with just the non-colors and just the inks to see.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what it looked like and if it worked, if it works. Because my thought is it probably doesn't. He's doing so much to make sure it works, right? All of the panels, they're not just straight across, right? They're staggered. We have everything's working so hard to make sure the storytelling works, and I think that's my problem with this double page spread. Is it's so much work to make sure it works or make sure it's readable, and it just falls short because there's a lot of stuff going on.
I like it because I like this page because we get to have this conversation where I'm like, oh, why didn't they color the smoke a different color to like make it work? Or why didn't they change the palette of the panels to make them stand out a little bit more? Like what were the creative choices that went into this page, and where did they go right turn instead of making a left turn, or this things, or did they try the different things and they're like, actually this is the best way it worked? And I'm sure that's what they did, is they tried the other things and they're like, oh, pink smoke doesn't work, or whatever, green smoke or whatever it is, and they're just like, oh, this is the best version of this and stuff. And I mean, you get the grand festival, Grateful Dead, hippie craziness vibe coming out of it and stuff. So I mean, I like that.
It's extremely well done. Let me don't get me wrong. This is fun. It's like it's such a flex, and I think that's like why do it? It's a flex. It's really well done. That's why you do it. It works. I just think, what are comics? What are comics but storytelling mediums? When you fail it, or when you fall short on certain storytelling elements, that is the thing that that's the thing that I notice, and that's the thing that I can actually feel like I can talk about, right? We could talk about how good Wes Craig is as an artist all day, but it's going to really, I've said it all. I've said everything that I could say about it. He's a good artist. He's good. I have there's no more thoughts that I have around that. I can talk about storytelling, and when it is so obvious that there is a problem, it's easier to talk about. So it's easy to nitpick on certain things, especially in a book that is so good.
Well, this is where my brain starts to think, is like, man, I wonder, I gotta ask Wes if he's a deadhead. And he's like, man, I really wanted to draw a giant deadhead, like concert. It's one of those things where it's like, if your personality pushes you to go into a direction, like again, the making the right turn, the left turn, going up the middle, or let's go this way, blah, blah, blah. Like, what are those emotional influences that make you end up here?
Yeah. I think for me, the it works really well. I think the idea of it works really well. I think the panel layout is the panel layout over top of the concert is hard to read, or it is the thing that gets in the way. It doesn't go straight across, and your brain naturally wants to go straight across because there's not a stark enough gutter. Um, and I don't think pushing all of this to one page, right, solves that. If we took everything and put it to the left side, it solves it. It doesn't. It needs to be a double page spread.
Yeah.
And these guys are good enough at storytelling to know that, well, you can't just waste a double page spread. Although we have one where I feel like they waste a double page spread. Do you want to go to that?
One final thought on this: if you've ever gone to Lollapalooza, you can't walk in a straight line. So maybe that's part of it too. The panel layout is like you're just moving all over the place, and it's confusing.
That's
Plus, all these people are high. We're starting to get high at this point in time.
that's
so
great. But don't confuse the audience. You can there's techniques and things that you can do. It's like when you go to see a fight scene or you go watch a movie and then there's a fight scene and you're like, who's punching who? What's going on? Because the camera's moving all around and it's like you're feeling the action. And then you see something that's crisp. One of my favorite fight scenes of all time is in World's End, the Edgar Wright movie. And there's a fight scene in the bathroom. You know where every single person is in that bathroom. And it's, we're moving around, we're doing things, and it's super clean. Like at no point does the camera judder and confuse the audience. I think what's happened here is it's confusing to the audience. You might want to be like, this is trippy. It's hard to get around. But when it's hard to get around in real life, it's frustrating. And when it's hard to get around when you're reading it, it's more frustrating because you are in control. Yeah, that's my thought.
I'm like, man, I got to go back and watch all these other movies with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Listen,
And,
the Cornetto trilogy is phenomenal.
so I pulled this page out as one of the pages I liked because this person is dangling, and you have two perspectives of the person dangling. From the danglee to the dangler. I think those are correct words. And the way the panels are crooked and everything like that, I can, as the reader, can feel the movement and I can feel the intensity of the moment. And I said all this stuff to Jamie, and then Jamie said,
I said, yeah, but this page doesn't do anything. It's just a static image. You might have feeling, but you don't have any, it doesn't propel the story in any way. It's just a moment. It's just a thing. And I said, you should go to the page before that because it has Matt likes punchline. This is a thing we've talked about now. Matt likes punchline. And I say punchline doesn't mean anything unless there's setup. My favorite joke of all time is a Steve Martin joke. And the punchline to that joke is, cat was the best lay I ever had. It doesn't mean anything if you don't get the front end of the joke. And it's brilliant. And that's the thing is is the punchline good? Is the punchline good enough here that it works on its own? The use of negative space is really nice. There's so many good artistic things. There's ways that he is conveying movement in this stuff, and weight. The hands holding the side of the building is really great on that second panel. The brush strokes pulling down, the gravity that is, we have speed lines essentially pulling down the character. Cool. We see how high it is. Cool.
This does have a very intense anime feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's interesting, you say that manga would do this with two panels. It would be the same thing. And I think, with even somebody like this, what doesn't, this is what doesn't impress me about it. This is the thing that I lose with all of the panels around. And I think you like all of the panels around. The scale is lost on me here. I don't get the scale. I get the scale in the panels before on the setup, but on the punchline, I don't get the scale. And I feel like there's artists that are really, really great at scale, and I would love to see what they would do with a sequence like this and see how it would work. But I think what happens is, because we've crowded around the scale of the building with these 8 panels on either side, we lose kind of the void, the idea that a character can fall to his death in the void. If it was just stark, but that would get away from the
go to the
the previous page. Yeah, so the previous page is a double page spread for no reason. Matt likes it because there's a moon. Matt loves a moon. A character's jumping in front of the moon. That's Matt's thing. And that's what it feels like here. It feels like we're just doing characters jumping in front of the moon, because that's a comic book trope, and it is a good way to show characters in full body characters. Then we get a good sequence. We get a silhouetted sequence of the guys jumping from building to building. Marcus landing.
Yeah.
And then the other guy not landing and missing it. It's great. Also great use of a copy paste again, where you have the same form in panel 2 missing, just going down from panel to panel 3.
But then you have the expression marks in panel 3 around his head.
Yes.
Oh
yeah,
I just think
I think it's really great. And I think the next page only works because of this page, right? And if we're talking about just art in pages, that's what we're talking about comics. We're not talking about illustration.
Yeah, and then right, and then the sequence building up to this was Marcus was finally getting comfortable in the skin and having fun, even though they're assassins, and having that intimate moment of oh, this is my friend, we're gonna do something, and it was the buildup of happiness, and then it was nope, we're still dying. We're not dying, but we're still on the edge of getting killed off.
This is still reality, and so in that case, the fantasy of jumping in front of the moon works, right? The
E.T. moment.
The Batman moment, the E.T. moment. Exactly.
80s moments in the book.
Yeah. Love that gradient on those last 3 panels. Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah, it does switch.
Oh, yeah. It's great. It's gorgeous. It's a great way to, it emphasizes the sequence more and more. I like a sequence.
You do? You like comic strips?
Yeah. And I do like, I like comic strips. This is a thing that also we had talked about before we got onto this thing was, I'm not a big fan of just that single splash page. I don't care for it. I think it's often misused, but I love comic strips, and I feel like you get a splash page every Sunday, right? The Sunday strip, especially in something like Terry and the Pirates, where the story follows through, but you get the build up to this big moment. You get the big moment, and then you go to more small moments. And that big moment is never just one page. It's never just one image. It's multiple images. The idea is a bigger moment. And I think with the way that Deadly Class is paced, specifically with these kind of multiple panels, always coming at you, always coming at you, always coming at you, you don't need to waste your space with a double page spread of 2 guys jumping across the moon. It almost isn't built for it. It's a little jarring. But it looks cool.
No, I don't. Yeah,
Like, it's a great drawing. It
I'm
just
trying to think of the five books I read. It's like there aren't a lot of like really big West Coast, like really big like that and stuff. But like I I like think I love this book because of just the colors on it. Like I mean, Wes's artwork is amazing. The writing is right there. It's very kitschy, very and but I think the coloring or the the colors that they use really emphasize the pace of the story and like increase the pace to where like your heart starts pounding
yeah,
as you
yeah,
as you try to yawn. I was like, your heart's pounding. You're like, oh man, what's
yeah.
going on? I can't handle
It's still
this.
comics at the end of the day. Yeah, no, it is the thing that is one of the most striking elements of the book, and I think it is like the reason to pick it up. And it was for me one of the reasons I picked it up was the coloring. I just thought it's special. Very rarely do you get a book where you're like, oh wow, the coloring, wow, because they're actually playing with color theory and emotional color theory and all of that stuff. Um, I'd be curious to see how much, or be curious to know how much input Rick Remender had on the coloring and how much input Wes Craig had on the coloring, or did they just let Lou Ridge go crazy? My thought is probably that's what it was. Or it would be like, this is a blue sequence. This is like, we're sad, so make it blue. Or
These are the feelings. This is the emotion.
yeah, yeah. I think maybe that or you can just read a script and know what the feelings and emotions are if you want to read.
But that's always things that like I want to know, and I like the creative team, like how actually creative do they get when they're making a comic book? Because I know with like big two books, like you have an editor and you send notes to an editor, and the editor sends the artist, and it goes back and forth that way. And but when you're working on like an indie book, like how much how creative do you get? I think I ask people all this time. I was like, hey, do you guys just get together and like brainstorm monsters for your? Do you have a monster
Yeah,
building session kind of thing? But that's where I want to know, and these are the questions that I'm going to have the courage to ask now that I'm older to creators. And when
yeah,
I go to New York Comic Con, I'll be like, hey man, I just read Deadly Class, and like this is what I was thinking. What were you thinking? Kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, I find it so fascinating that you care what the person was thinking that that made it. But that is the difference between you and I is you care about the person making the thing. I care about the product and how it made me feel at the end of the day. Um,
that's the nature versus nurture argument, isn't it?
is
I'm
it?
like, did like your parents' upbringing influence why you made Deadly Class? Or did nature do it? Like, where did it come
Mm,
from? Like
mm.
kind of thing.
Yeah. How do you feel about Superman?
Which one? All
The
of them?
the titular Superman.
I will let you know that I never read Red. I never read Red Sun Superman because that'll tell you where I land on Superman.
Okay, so you're a nurture. You're a nurture
Yeah,
Superman guy. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
I
think
personally don't think Superman's Superman without the Kents, and I think that's
yeah,
kind of the beauty of it, right? So I got
yeah.
a lot
No,
of thoughts on Superman.
that I mean, I just watched the Richard Donner one, the first one with my kids, and it's a bizarre one to watch now. Like it's just where we are with superhero films and where we are with Superman. It is bizarre to just watch that film now. But there is the two parents. You have Kal-El's dad, Jor-El, and then you have the Kents, and like there's a major battle of who Superman is in that film, or who he should be from the parental sides.
Yeah.
So and it's good, and that's it's art. I love it, and I love comic books.
I love comic books too. I think
You
I
do?
can freely say that.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that, Jamie. Do you love comic books?
Listen, every now and then, I hate comics. I love comics. It's the thing that gets me up in the morning, literally, because I have to make comics.
I literally have
That's how I get paid.
I was trying to think of of you as a creator, and then I think of you as like an actor and then a cartoonist and then like how you're putting all that together and stuff. And in how does being an actor, how if you're still an actor, I don't know how does being an actor help you make comic books? How do you?
It doesn't.
I knew that was the answer. You're like, listen, buddy, there is nothing
It
I do in
doesn't.
acting ever helped me make comic books. Like I knew that was the
You know
answer.
what? I mean, not in acting, but when you are, I mean, I did stage stuff. Like I was a set painter and set designer. You get real good at perspective real fast when you have to paint it at large scale. So like there are elements of it's storytelling, right? I have a writing degree, so an English writing degree, and that's kind of where I've landed on everything. Is it all kind of is the same thing, right? If we're just storytelling, if we're just telling stories, what's the most effective way to do it? And then you have different aspects of uh, and different techniques you can use in each medium. This is why I have such a hard time and such a problem with us using film terminology to describe comic books, because you would never use a comic book term to describe something in a play, right? Because they're not doing the same thing. They're approaching art from very different ways, and you can do really weird idiosyncratic things in film, and because it's happening at you, right? It's film is a passive. Uh, it's a passive medium. If you walk out of the room to go to the bathroom, the movie doesn't stop for you, right? But in a book or in a novel or in a comic, if you put that book down, it stops. You don't get any more information. So using those aspects and those elements of storytelling, you're able to like finagle different things. So framing, while we have certain things that overlap, framing, uh, Dutch angles to give a weird like we're off kilter. There's techniques and things to use. The difference between the two things, like just the baseline, what you're doing is very different. Also, acting is just standing and saying words, right? Like I have I have maybe the same view of acting as I do of comics, which is like, how do you make a comic? You just draw the comic. Like you sit down and you do the work. Acting is kind of similar. There's somebody, when you have a director telling you kind of where to go, your job is just to know your words and stand in a spot and say your lines. That is like what you're supposed to do. Don't mess up your lines. Stand in this spot and say words. Uh, and that's all you have to do. It's kind of all you have to do in comics too. It's just like, well, don't mess up. Don't draw all wrong. Just have characters standing and talking. And you can see it at its base form. You get like Peanuts, which are just characters standing around talking. They're all in 3/4 profile, right? Nobody's doing anything crazy. There's no crazy camera tricks. Although I do have a Peanut. I have the Peanuts artist edition, and there's one panel in it that doesn't look like Charles Schultz drew it. It's because it's this high angle. Charlie Brown's like running to grab a baseball, and it looks weird because it's not. It's like, well, that head shape doesn't work in 3/4 bird eye. It just doesn't work. But it works when it's just flat characters talking, and it's just, what are the words? Charlie Brown says the words. You go to the next panel. Charlie Brown says more words. You go to the next panel. It's setup, punchline. It's that's all it is. You don't have to play around with the pacing of a panel. You don't have to mess around with size. It can all be the same size. It can all be the same shape and same placement, and it can be one of the best goddamn comic books ever made. Definitively, it's like everyone knows Peanuts is the best.
It's so hilarious. I'm like, hey, give me this mythos on on acting and on comic books. Give me all this like dreamy stuff that I all dream about. You're like, no, I'm not going to give you
It's just
1 ounce of any of that stuff.
it's not. I don't know.
Do
Maybe
you like baseball? Do you like
I like
baseball?
what?
Baseball,
Do I
the
like
game of
baseball?
baseball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's all this like mystique and mythos and for the love of the game and all this like certain moments and how baseball reflects life and decision making and doing all these things. And like there's this romantic element to baseball. And then when I
Yeah.
talk to you about the romance of comics, you're like, romance is dead.
Romance isn't dead. I'm very much in love, and it's a great. Love is great. Romance is great. I really, the things that I think, where we differ is you romanticize you romanticize different things than I romanticize. Like, I recently posted a thing on my Instagram, and it was a bunch of pictures of Batman, and I said one of these is my favorite, and it was just like Carmine Infantino, Bob Kane, uh, Dick Sprang, all of these different versions of Batman. It was just the head sketches, and I said, which one's my favorite? And I was like, there is an answer, and I do have a favorite of these. And everyone went for the old, like, they were like, oh, it's Bob Kane, or it's Kurt Swan, or it's this, it's this. One of my friends was like, oh, it's Frank Robbins, which is the right answer. Frank Robbins is probably my favorite Batman artist, but he did Batman in the 70s, but he did old comic strips in like the 50s. And he has this, I can romanticize his ink line like nobody's business, but I still understand that I mean, look, you're going to get Frank Robbins. I have uh, some Johnny Hazard, right here. And this book, I mean, is there a better artist in the world? I don't know. I'd be hard pressed. God, it's so good, and this book is paced so great. But Frank Robbins is such a good artist, and he's got this mix of, like, he's coming off of the Milton Caniff school and the Eisner world of cartooning, but he does it in such a way that is contemporary. This book reads really well. It came out so long ago. This came out in 1944. But it reads like a contemporary book because he knows how to actually do the storytelling. I love Terry and the Pirates. Terry and Pirates is one of my favorite things. It's stiff sometimes, and it feels like the writing's stiff, and the writing, we're figuring out how this stuff goes. Similar to reading stuff like, like Mark Twain or Edgar Allan Poe. There's like these things that we now have that are kind of out of that we would never use or we would never say, and it slows down the reading of it and slows down the comprehension because you have to then like switch your brain into this older way of thinking. I romanticize the older way of thinking. I think that's what it comes down to, is like, I can go and read. I have a buddy of mine, and we were talking. I was reading Treasure Island, and I was like, "Oh, I'm reading Treasure Island." He goes, "I can't do it. I can't do it because he's like, we've done it so many different ways, and we've done it so much better now." And I said, "Yeah, but like the first one is kind of it's the classic. It's the thing that we like." And he was like, "Good for you, man." he was like, I can't slow my brain down enough to read those old stories, and that's like all I do now is I live in this kind of different world, or the things that I'm consuming are the old stuff. Just because I find it fascinating, the creation of these myths and these stories. So when you ask me about like, what do you romanticize about acting, is not like, the act of acting is not interesting to me, but uh, the fact that Shakespeare wrote things in iambic pentameter because it was easier, because it's sing-songy and it's easier to memorize. fascinating. I love that, and there's ways to read those scripts that you don't have to do any acting. You can be bad at acting, but the story is still conveyed because of the way that if you are good at reading Shakespeare, if you are good at not even performing, just rote saying, there's magic in that. There's magic in energy, energy transference. I will romanticize all the time. I did Macbeth in the park in Tampa for the Tampa Shakespeare Festival, and we would. This is going to be woohoo, hoity-toity, like woo-woo, but we would get into this. We would get to the space 40 minutes before, 30 minutes before the show would go up, so we could all get in costume. But we would just get in a circle, hold hands, and kind of just like feed the energy, just in silence, feed the energy through the actors. So we all kind of get in the same headspace. We all kind of get in the mood. And the idea is you're filling the space, which has no set, right? It's in the middle of summer. It's hot. And we're supposed to be in Denmark in the winter. Like it's a cold, dead air, and you're trying to fill that space with that cold, dead air. That's magic to me. That's like the romanticizing of that and that action of the transference of energy. That is a main thing that I really love about comics too. Is my favorite comic, like of all time, is Essex County, a book that's, I think even Jeff Lemire would say, not particularly well drawn, but damn, does it have a lot of heart, right? Like there's a lot going on in that book. And there's a quote that he said, I will attribute it to Jeff Lemire, although he might have not said it first and he might have taken it from somebody else. And I didn't know who he attributed it to. But he said, comics are like reading someone's handwriting. And it's the only form, like handwriting is so particular. There's people who study handwriting to make sure they're not mentally ill, right? Like this guy's going to murder somebody. Look at the curvature of his lines. They're all going down. He must be depressed. Or, oh, there's a lilt to the handwriting. Oh, he's in love because he's talking about love and the handwriting's going up. That can be conveyed in comics because your emotional state can affect your brushstroke, and your brushstroke then affects the reader. And if we live in this world where energy cannot be destroyed nor created, only transferred, right? Then where's my energy going if I am using my brush to stroke? Where is that going? Is it going into the page, right? If the energy is going into the page and then you're now getting to receive that energy, I think that's really cool. So I romanticize a lot of like that side of things. It's just not like the act of doing it or the act of making it is not romantic to me. It's just, manual labor.
Never a dull moment with Jamie Jones, as always. But this is why I love talking to you. I mean, like, because I feel like we're recording a podcast right now, but like this is definitely something way deeper than just recording a podcast. Like this is us. This is us. This is us right here. So, thank you as always for the time. And I'm not gonna. There's no follow up questions needed here, man. Like, I can't wait to see what here's gone. I can't wait to be in a bar and talk about comic books, and we'll both romanticize from different angles of the spectrum,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
different ends of the spectrum, and we'll I might now at the next IC3 get everybody to hold hands and be like, hey, we're gonna fill this space up with some energy, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome. And but no, it's really cool, and comics are awesome. We've established that a lot, and my brain is just going nuts about deadly class and color theory and impact and pacing and all that stuff. And like I could go on and just keep blabbering about it, and you and I, philosophically going back and forth on it and stuff like that. But we do need to end this show, and I'm gonna end it. We're done.
Okay.
We're done, man. We're done.
Sounds good.
Take care, Jamie.
Bye.